within the next couple of days. So feel free to watch the replay of this Coaching for Busy Leaders webinar with your team members, with your colleagues. It'll be up for a couple of weeks for you to access. Okay, so let's get started. I want to share a little bit about myself with you so that you get a sense of the background that I bring and the expertise that I bring. So there I am. I'm Nicole Bendeley. I am the president of Connect, and I've been leading Connect for about 12 years now. And my company, our team, has been around for over 25 years now. And our sole purpose is helping organizations to tap into the very best of their teams and leaders. And we do that through complimentary webinars. We love sharing our knowledge and tools, so we do that every chance we get. We also do that through the development of assessments, through the design and launch of software products for teams to use to improve how they work together. And then, of course, we have traditional learning services such as workshops and coaching and leadership development processes. So our models and tools have been used by organizations around the world to improve performance. And we are also the co-creators of, or the creators, I should say, I'm a co-creator of the Team Fitness tool, which is one of the software products I was referring to earlier to help you to improve team performance. Now, today's webinar isn't about selling you anything. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not going to give you half of the coaching model and ask you to spend $500 to get the other half. Today is simply about sharing knowledge and tools with you that we have found to work exceptionally well over our 25 years of helping leaders. And we share our models and tools also through a number of books that we've had published over the past 25 years. Our most recent books are Improving Healthcare Team Performance, which was published 2 years ago, Leadership on the Run, How to Get Better Results Faster, and our On Track, Taking Meetings from Good to Great, which is one of our bestsellers. Okay, so that's a little bit about us. Now I want to get right into the coaching content so that you can begin to have more powerful conversations with the teams that you lead. So as I said, we've been working in the industry for 25 years now, really working with teams and leaders. And we receive this question quite frequently and consistently over the past 25 years that maybe some of you can relate to. And leaders often ask us, Nicole, how can I achieve greater results with less struggle? And this question really prompted us to ask and answer our own question, which is, what's the difference between leaders who achieve exceptional results with ease and those who struggle to keep up? And through our work and research with leaders over a number of years, we uncovered the fact that leaders who achieve better results more easily aren't any smarter than other people, don't work harder or longer hours than those who struggle to keep up. What we found is that those leaders that can excel with ease practice some consistent behaviors, apply some priorities and best practices regularly that other leaders don't. And what we found is that having conversations, real conversations that enable others to tap into their own expertise, to generate their own ideas, to come up with their own solutions. When leaders coach and encourage others to use independent creative thinking to identify new and better ways of doing things, that leader excels more easily and their team excels more easily. So through our research, and not just ours, but a number of organizations have been conducting research on coaching, we found that leaders who coach are far more productive, achieve better results more easily, and lead teams that are engaged, accountable, and lead and create healthy climates. So that's really what today is all about, to give you a tool so that you can have coaching conversations. Because when we work with leaders and encourage them to coach, a response that we often receive is, oh, I don't have time to coach, or I don't know how to coach. And so I'm here to show you that you can have coaching conversations in the moment in as little as 10 minutes, and that you don't have to have a coaching certification in order to coach. You can use the tool that I'll be giving you today to start having these coaching conversations right after this session. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda for today. Our agenda is first to define coaching. Okay, what is coaching? Then we'll share some benefits of coaching. We'll look at the coaching process. And one big important piece of the coaching process is creating a foundation of trust. And we throw the word trust around quite a bit. So we're going to actually define and break trust down. Because if you're leading a team or working in a team where there isn't a strong foundation of trust, the coaching process can create greater trust. However, if there is a significant lack of trust and therefore some conflict and a lack of respect perhaps within the team, then before you start coaching, there's going to be some work that you as a leader needs to do in order to build trust, and we'll talk about that. We'll look at what your role as a coach really is, and then we'll provide you with that 5-step coaching model. Okay, like I said, it's a simple model to apply. What I'd also like to direct you to is your coach's worksheet that you can, if you have a printer near you or you can use later, print off and use so that you have almost a cheat sheet to use this model for. So you can access the coach's worksheet at this website, and I'll just show it to you here. Okay, so teamfitnesstool.com/coaching-tools. And then just click to download, and you'll have your coach's worksheet there for you. I wanted to be sure that you have a takeaway, that you're not relying on this webinar solely. You have this worksheet now that you can print off and use, and also share with your team members and share this model with them so that they can coach one another as well. It's all about sharing the love and knowledge today. Okay, so that's our agenda. So I want to spend a little bit of time just defining what coaching is, and I'd like to ask for your participation here. So in your question box, what comes to mind when you hear the term coaching? What pictures enter your mind? What words come to mind? And just type them in. I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, we have a few coming in here. Feedback, says Karen. Great. Teacher. Guide, say Jason and Leslie. Mentor. Enabler. Partner. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, those are all great descriptions of what coaching is. Teacher, guide, enabler, mentor, partner, feedback. Wonderful. And they all encompass the act of coaching or define what coaching is. So let's take a look at a definition of coaching. And this is one of my favorite definitions. You know, if you Google coaching, you'll get a ton of different definitions. And this is the one that I find is most relevant. Coaching is about helping another person reach higher performance by creating a dialogue that leads to awareness and action. So there are a couple of very key points that I want to quickly highlight here. Coaching is about creating a dialogue. A dialogue is a two-way conversation, right? So in order to create a conversation, you, the leader, need to ask questions, okay? Coaching is simply the act of asking questions so that you can engage the other person in a dialogue that will lead to greater awareness on their part and ultimately enable them to take action to improve a skill, change a behavior, or address a problem. And there are, of course, many benefits to coaching, which we'll get into in a minute, but there are two types of coaching. There's informal coaching and formal coaching. So informal coaching is really what we're talking about today, which is the in-the-moment, on-the-fly coaching. Having said that, though, the tool that you're going to be getting this afternoon can be applied and works very well in a formal coaching situation, right? So in an informal coaching situation, it's in the moment. You see a need arise or a team member comes to you with an issue, and instead of saying, okay, I'll deal with it and run away with that issue. You engage in a conversation to help your team member identify how they're going to deal with the issue. Okay, that's an example of informal coaching. Formal coaching, of course, is for example, a performance review session where you're coaching your team member as part of the performance review piece. Or perhaps you've agreed with a team member or two to have regular 1-hour coaching sessions once a month, right? So that's a more formal process, and usually in those coaching sessions, you're using your performance reviews. You're using an assessment of some sort to measure progress, okay? Today we're talking about the informal process, but you can use it within a formal coaching session. Now the benefits of coaching. What comes to mind when you think of coaching? Why do you even want to incorporate coaching into your leadership style, into your team? What are some benefits that you hope to gain? Just jot those in so that I can see what you're hoping to gain from coaching. Okay, so I'm seeing greater delegation. Absolutely. Improvement from Karen. Absolutely. So improvement and delegation, let's start with those. So when you improve your conversations and actually engage your team members in dialogue through coaching, you're seeing improvement in performance. You're seeing improvement in engagement and accountability. You're also, as a leader, able to better delegate. You know, as leaders, we often have that knee-jerk reaction to run with problems that our team members bring us, right? And that adds to our stress load, our workload. The best leaders, the most exceptional leaders, are able to throw the ball back to their team members and enable them to run with it, and that's what you do with coaching. I see benefits, engagement, accountability, more people taking ownership. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those. So we've identified a number of these benefits. Okay, we talked about less stress. Absolutely, less stress on the part of the leader. Now, greater creativity and innovation. That's a huge benefit from coaching. You know, as leaders, no one person can have all the answers to all of the questions and all of the issues in the world, right? And so by tapping into that creativity, tapping into the skill sets and knowledge and amazing value that your team members bring to the team, you're going to identify better solutions, better ways of doing things. And by engaging your team members in coaching conversations and showing them that you care about what they think and the value that they bring to the team, they are going to be more engaged. They will take greater ownership in finding solutions and doing the very best that they can. And that will result also in more collaboration. So there are a number of proven benefits that come from coaching. The pushback that we get from coaching is, as I said at the beginning, is a misperception of what coaching really is, and also the amount of time it takes to coach. And so I'm here to show you that you can achieve all of these benefits by having quick conversations in the moment, quick coaching conversations that are driven by simply you asking questions. Okay? So let's jump into the coaching process right now. This is the process we're going to review together. So coaching requires establishing a foundation of trust. It requires having a coaching conversation, and you're going to get a 5-step model for structuring that conversation. And for coaching to work at its best, it requires forward action and accountability. So we're going to be looking at all 3 of those pieces of the coaching process. Okay? So this is a quote that I also find to be quite powerful that I wanted to share with you in understanding the importance of trust and the importance of building a relationship. So if we go back a step, build and maintain trust throughout the relationship. As a leader, part of your main role is building relationships with each and every one of your team members that are based on trust. It's a two-way relationship. And coaching enables you to strengthen and develop that relationship with your team members. And so this quote, "Relationship remains the beginning point of coaching and its foundation. The basic ingredients for the relationship are mutual trust, respect, and freedom of expression. For coaching to work, the relationship must be genuine." And so by the relationship, the piece of that quote, "The relationship must be genuine," that means in entering into a coaching conversation, for genuine, for people to trust the coaching conversation, it's essential that you demonstrate your sincerity in the process, that you genuinely want to hear what the other person has to say, that you genuinely want to support the other person in building a skill set or addressing a problem or becoming even better than they already are in some way. Okay, so that there needs to be a sense of sincerity there. And we achieve that by building that trust and creating the opportunity for your team members to have a freedom of expression through the coaching process. So we throw that word trust around quite a bit, and it's such an essential part of the coaching process that I want to spend some time defining what trust really is. So trust can be broken down into three pieces. Okay, trust is built first when we demonstrate that we can achieve results, right? So by results, I mean that we demonstrate competence in our skill set, in our job. We demonstrate competence as leaders. By achieving results, I mean that we have a solid track record of following through on our commitments and we live up to expectations. Okay, so we're going to develop trust within our team when we show them that we can do a good job. The second piece of trust is when we demonstrate integrity, and that's another word that gets tossed around a lot. And integrity means walking the talk. It means that our actions are aligned with the statements. What we say reflects what we do, and vice versa. Integrity is also demonstrated when we treat everybody with the same respect, that we show up with the same character and values across a variety of situations, that we're not different with one group than we are with another, for example. Okay? And we demonstrate integrity when we're transparent, when the information we share reflects what we know. And then finally, this last piece, this is something that you can immediately work on or improve if there is a lack of trust within your team. So we build trust when we show concern for the well-being of others. And by showing concern for the well-being of others, I mean that as a leader, we recognize and understand the impact our actions have on others. We show a sincere desire to promote the well-being of others. We show confidence in the abilities of others, and we recognize contributions. So if there is a lack of trust within your team right now, or you're working in an unhealthy climate of some sort, a place for you as a leader to start before you even start coaching is at that last piece, showing concern for the well-being of others. So look for ways that you can demonstrate your confidence in your team members' abilities. Look for ways that you can recognize contributions, no matter how small, but with sincerity, right? And then you can begin, even the act of coaching demonstrates concern for the well-being of others, okay? So those are the three pieces of trust. And without trust, coaching really can't work effectively. So establish a foundation of trust and then the coaching conversation. This is what we're getting into now. So when you're entering into a coaching conversation with a team member, it's really important to understand, first of all, why you're having this coaching conversation. So the purpose of the coaching conversation is to achieve three things. First, it's to develop a clear picture of where the individual wants to be. Okay, so what do you want as a result of this conversation? What are you trying to achieve? So understanding the skill that the team member needs to develop or the issue that they want to resolve. So having a clear picture of the goal. That's one purpose of the conversation. Then it's establishing a clear understanding of where that person is now. So understanding the reality, the challenges, some opportunities there, what is the situation, and then developing a plan for closing the gap. So the purpose of a coaching conversation is to establish a goal, understand where that person is now in the situation and the reality of the situation, and then develop a plan for closing the gap. Now, you're not the one developing the plan. It's your team member that's developing the plan. You're helping them through the coaching process or the coaching conversation. So let's take a look at the actual model that you can use to have the coaching conversation. Okay? I'm actually going to stop at this quote for a second. So when we talk about your role as a coach, it's important as we go through this 5-step model to remember that you are not the problem solver, okay? That you're not responsible in a coaching process to providing the solution, to making the decisions, to providing the ideas, and to figuring out how to close the gap between where your team member is now and where they want to be. That's the responsibility of your team member. Okay? As the coach, it's your responsibility to enable them by asking questions and helping them to build their own awareness as to how they can achieve the goal that they're setting for themselves. Okay? And you're going to do that by applying the 5-step coaching model. Now, the iGrow coaching model isn't something that we developed. This is a model that is used by coaches all over the world in organizations around the world. And it is such a simple 5-step process that I just love to share it. And this is the coaching model that I use when I coach my clients. And so if you pull out your coach's worksheet, and if you joined later on in this call, you can find your coach's worksheet. Whoops. Back here at teamfitnesstool.com/coaching tools, and you can just click download, okay, and you will have your coach's worksheet. And this is for you to use after the webinar, okay? It's your cheat sheet. So the 5-step coaching model. So let's use an example. Let's say a team member comes to you with an issue, okay? That's the first piece. So the 5 steps are issue, goal, reality, options, way forward. 5 steps to the conversation. You're going to start the conversation by identifying the issue, and you're going to end the conversation by helping your team member to identify the steps they're going to take going forward. And then there are 3 steps in the middle. So we're going to go through each of those steps. So the first step is the issue. This is the what's up question. Each of these 5 steps are defined by a key question, okay? And on your worksheet, you have a number of other questions that you can use to guide the conversation and tap into the ideas and skills and experience of the team member that you're coaching. So really use that coach's worksheet. So the first step is the identifying the issue. That's the what's up question. So let's say a team member comes to you with a problem that they're having. Okay, maybe it's a problem that they're having with another team member. Okay, oftentimes when you're coaching informally, the issue is pretty evident. A team member, for example, is coming to you with an issue. Okay, so the issue is usually fairly evident. If you're going to a team member to engage and initiate a coaching conversation, okay, then you'll be identifying the issue. So perhaps you're noticing that a team member is arriving late regularly over the past month. Okay, so you would start a conversation saying, I'm noticing that, and you would describe the behavior that you're noticing of the individual. Okay, so the first step is simply identifying the issue, whether you're identifying it or your team member is coming to you with it. Okay, so let's assume for this conversation a team member has come to you with an issue. That's a pretty quick piece, is identifying the issue. The next step in the conversation is focusing on the goal. It's about shifting from focusing on the problem or the issue and shifting your team members' attention to what they want to achieve as opposed to what the problem is. So the goal question or the goal piece of the conversation is driven by the question, what do you want? Okay? And this is really important because when we're having conversations with our team members, when a team member comes to us with an issue, we can spend 20 minutes focusing on the issue and focusing on the negativity around the issue, and that creates even more stress. The faster we can move our own attention and, most importantly, our team members' attention to focusing on a goal. Okay, I understand that you're having an issue with your colleague Jane, but what is it that you want at the end of the day? If you can have a perfect resolution to this situation, what would it look like? Okay, what do you want? And you have a number of questions on your coach's worksheet to guide that part of the conversation. So instead of getting stuck in the issue and what's wrong, you're focusing on what the team member actually wants to achieve. And that's one of the most important pieces of the coaching process, is clearly identifying the goal. And the faster we can move out of the negative mindset and problem mindset, the faster we can create motivation and engagement and the belief that, okay, something can be done about this, will really build that buy-in and motivation from the team member. Okay, so move from an issue to a goal. That's the second piece of the conversation. And again, this moving from an issue to a goal can happen in a couple of minutes. Then the next piece of the conversation is understanding the current situation. We don't want to ignore the issue. We just, before we get into understanding the situation, we want to understand what it is that our team member wants to achieve. Then we can explore the current situation. And that's the what's happening now question. Okay? So you have identified, or the team member has identified, the ideal outcome. Now it's about, okay, tell me a little bit of what's happening now. What's working, what's not, what led up to this conflict, for example. Tell me a little bit about the situation. Now, so that the purpose of this reality phase, there are two pieces, okay, for this. Two reasons why this is important. First, you want to have an understanding of the situation, okay, so that you can ask the right questions and help guide the individual towards some solutions to the problem. But also, exploring the current situation helps your team member to maybe think about the situation from different perspectives. Because oftentimes our team members come to us with an issue without really taking the time to think it through. And so by you asking about the situation and digging a little deeper, and you have some questions on your worksheet to guide that conversation, you're not only helping create greater awareness of the situation, but you're setting expectations. You're letting your team members know, hey, when you come to me with an issue, I'm not just going to run with it. I'm going to have a conversation with you, and I'm going to be asking you some questions to help you to better understand the situation. And so you'll find when you start using this model, team members will come to you knowing what to expect and will have gotten into the habit of preparing and really thinking through the problem before coming to you. Okay, so you'll be creating greater ownership for that. So you want to explore the reality. Okay, so that might take a little bit more time than identifying the issue and establishing the goal. And by exploring reality, you're also challenging any assumptions you might have about the issue at hand. Because that's another problem. When a team member comes to us with an issue and we say, okay, leave it with me, I'll deal with it, we may not have the best understanding of that situation, and as a result might not make the best decisions or find the best solution. So Exploring the current situation helps us to challenge our own assumptions so that we have as accurate as possible a perception of the situation. Now, if you'll notice in these three pieces, not once have you shared your perception. All you are doing is asking questions. Okay? You're not sharing your perspective. You're not sharing your ideas. Okay? Now, having said that, as the leader, you have a lot of expertise to share. You've maybe been around the block a couple of times and maybe have even experienced this issue that your team member is coming to you. In coaching, I believe that your expertise should be shared. Okay? It's not just about tapping into the expertise and the ideas of your team member. It's also about sharing your perspective. The trick, though, is identifying the right point in the conversation to share your perspective. So up until this point, right now where you're at is exploring the situation. Once you've had them share their perspective of the situation, then if you have feedback to share, then you can share it at this stage. So perhaps you've observed your team member interacting with another team member involved in this situation, and you have some feedback to share. Or perhaps you've experienced a similar situation and you can share that perspective. Okay, absolutely share your perspective about what's happening, but only do so after they've shared their perspective. Okay? So you've explored reality. The next step is to step into the options piece, which is, okay, what could you do? The what could you do question. And the purpose of this piece is to identify options for moving forward. It's not for you to identify options for the person to move forward. It's about your team member identifying options. So you've identified the issue. You've identified, or your team member has identified exactly what they want to achieve. You've both explored the reality. And now it's, okay, given that you want to achieve X, what are 3 things you can do to achieve it? Or what's one thing you can do right now to take one step closer? So it's about asking questions to help your team member identify the steps they can take to get closer to the goal that they've identified that they want. And again, your expertise is critical in the coaching conversation, but it's just determining the right place to share it. So ensure that you're allowing your team member to share their ideas first. And if you feel they've missed a couple of pieces that could be helpful for them, you can absolutely share at the end, okay, those are some great ideas. Have you thought about A, B, and C? In my experience, when I tried this, this really helped me. It's not telling them to use those options. You're adding your suggestions to the mix. Okay? At no point in the coaching conversation are you making decisions for your team member. Okay? This is up to them. It's about them identifying the ideas, the next steps for addressing this issue or achieving this goal. So in the options phase, it can be a quick brainstorm. What are 5 things right now that you can think of that would help you achieve this goal? Or what's one thing you can do right now to take one step closer to achieving this goal? It doesn't need to be a 20-minute brainstorm. It's just a quick conversation. Okay? Then the final piece is, okay, you've identified 5 things that you can do. What will you do, and by when? So it's closing the conversation with some specific commitments to action. So you've bookended it here. You've moved from the issue to the goal. So you've started off by identifying the goal, and then you've ended the conversation by identifying specific commitments to action for moving closer to that goal. You know, when we're having conversations with our team members, it can be challenging to have a succinct, focused conversation when we don't have a structure to apply, right? Like I said earlier, somebody comes to you with an issue and we can get so stuck in the issue that we never move forward to identifying the goal or how to achieve the goal. And so then it just gets left, and people feel frustrated, and your stress level increases, and then the issue comes back to bite you a couple of weeks later, and we're still stuck in the issue. These 5 steps enable you to have a solid structure to follow in the conversation so that your conversation actually ends with some next steps that your team member will take in order to move forward towards their goals. So I see a question here. Can you please show the link again for the work tool? Sorry, Lindsay, I missed that question. Let me show the link while I have that question open. So the link is teamfitnesstool.com/coaching-tools. I will email this out to you as well, okay, following the workshop. So any other questions while we're reviewing these 5 steps here? Please feel free to send them along in your question box. So I'm going to stay on this page for a few more minutes. I want to shift the focus to looking at this from a team coaching perspective. Okay? So this is a model that you can use if you're in a team meeting and there's an issue that you as a team need to solve, or even a decision that you need to make. This is a great way to structure your meeting, because our meetings, as I'm sure you all know, can go off track really easily, just like one-on-one conversations, and we end up spinning our wheels and nothing gets done. So applying these 5 steps to your meetings when you're making a decision or addressing an issue can really increase not only the number of ideas that are generated and ensuring that the best decision is being made, but it increases accountability when you focus on that last piece. Okay, so what are we going to do and by when? Okay. Oops, sorry, I'm just playing around with these questions. Okay. So that's the 5-step model. Now, when you use this model and you get the hang of it, you can have quick coaching conversations. You will, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction of running with somebody's problem, you will instead ask questions, understand what it is that they really want, understand the situation, and then help them to identify options and next steps. It's as simple as that. And this model can be used in your performance review process. Okay, so maybe through your performance review, you've identified that your team member needs to improve a certain skills or certain competencies. Okay, so the issue and the goal is probably pretty clear, to improve a certain competency, and then explore what's preventing them from living up to that competency effectively or demonstrating it. Right? Explore the challenges that they're experiencing, and then have them identify what they could do to strengthen that competency. Maybe they'll identify that they'll need a course, or that they need regular coaching conversations, or that they need you know, a mentor. Whatever it is that they identify, it's them identifying it and not you telling them that they need a course, for example. So when you are engaging your team members in this model, in this coaching conversation, you are not only building trust because you're showing them that you value their experience and their perspective, and that you trust that they can come up with their own solutions to problems, but you're also building engagement, accountability. You're creating a healthier climate. So this type, having these conversations based on this model does a number of things for you. And it might take some time up front to get the hang of it. Actually, it will take time up front for you to get the hang of it, but you'll see it pay off in dividends once you start using it, okay? So the final piece of the coaching model is ensuring forward action and accountability. So you take your time to have these coaching conversations. You want to be sure that you're looping back in with your team members and checking in on them. And you're checking back in not just only to be sure that they're actually living up to what they say they are doing, but again, that builds trust. That demonstrates that you care about their ability to achieve their goals that they want to achieve, that you care about their ability to solve the issues that they're experiencing, okay? So check in regularly, informally, how are you doing on those 3 steps that you committed to do? Keep track of their goals and timelines, and also ask them in that last phase, that going forward piece, the last part of the conversation, ask them how you can help them achieve their goals, or how you can help them to remain accountable to their commitments. Okay, let them tell you what would work best. Okay. And then whenever you can, provide feedback. Feedback is a key responsibility of a leader, and so provide feedback, productive and constructive feedback as well. Now, I want to share with you, I'm conscious of time, I want to share with you one simple strategy that you can use to increase engagement and trust within your team. And it's part of what we've been talking about throughout today's session. And it's a very simple strategy. And if you only do one thing as a result of today's webinar, I want you to ask more questions. So I want you to think about the team that you lead right now and your daily interactions with your team members. And even just think about the past few hours at work. How many questions did you ask today? How many times did you say, tell me what you think? Or how many times did you say, I don't know, what do you think? Okay, ask more questions. The act of asking questions builds trust. The act of asking questions taps into your team members' experience and skill sets and perspectives and leads to healthier climates and greater innovation and better decisions. I spoke at a conference here in Canada a little while ago, and Sir Ken Robinson was speaking, and he was sharing a story about the time that he shared a stage with the Dalai Lama. And he was on stage with the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama was taking questions from the crowd. And somebody asked the Dalai Lama a question, and the Dalai Lama paused and reflected on the question for a little bit and then said, I don't know. You're probably in a better situation to answer that question than I am. What do you think? If the Dalai Lama can say, I don't know, what do you think? Surely each and every one of us can say that as well, right? And as leaders, so often we feel that we need to have the answers. Part of our role as leaders is to have the answers. But in actual fact, part of our role as leaders is to actually not have all the answers, or if we think we have all the answers, not to share them, and to tap into the wealth of experience and knowledge and potential of our team members by asking them what they think. So if you only do one thing today to improve your team's climate, engagement, and accountability and performance, it's to ask more questions. So I'd like you to take a minute now and just jot down some examples of how you might use the iGrow model, or what you're going to take away with today. So give yourself the gift of writing down a couple of commitments to action, at least one thing you're going to do differently or more of as a result of today's session. Okay. Now, on your coach's worksheet, you have my email address, which is also on the bottom of this screen. I've included that email address for a purpose, so that if you have any questions or challenges using that iGrow model, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. I'm also more than happy to offer a 1-hour coaching session to each of you on this call today for the purpose of helping you use and develop your own coaching process and to build your confidence in your ability to coach your team members. And so this isn't a special offer. It's not going to lead to me selling you anything. It is simply coming from my genuine interest in helping others to build coaching cultures within their teams. So please, and I'll send a reminder out in an email for you to, take me up on that offer should you wish. And should you ever just wish to chat about tapping into the best of your team members, feel free to please reach out. Now, I will be replaying this webinar for you. You also have your coach's worksheet with all the information that you need to begin to apply that 5-step model. So I want to thank you very much for your time today, and I wish you all the very best in coaching your team. Have a wonderful day. Take care.